The line in the stars. The command deck of the Earth spaceship Thunderchild was eerily quiet save for the low hum of life support systems and the occasional beep from sensor stations. Admiral Ilara Voss stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her weathered face illuminated by the holographic display that dominated the center of the room. 23 red markers representing the Voidborn High ships were moving steadily toward the Procyon system, toward the 3 billion inhabitants of New Titan colony. "Time to intercept?" Voss asked, her voice calm despite the knot in her stomach. Lieutenant Commander Jackson checked his console. 18 hours, Admiral. Coalition forces are repositioning. Voss's jaw tightened. Repositioning was military speak for running away. She tapped her neural implant, bringing up the Coalition fleet data in her augmented vision. 16 ships representing 5 alien species were indeed repositioning, moving away from the Procyon system at maximum acceleration. "Open a channel to Coalition Command," she ordered. The face of Supreme Commander Zex Toril appeared on the main view screen, his 4 eyes blinking asynchronously, a sign of stress in Korth physiology. Admiral Voss, the alien commander's translation software rendered his clicks and whistles into flat English. "We are executing tactical withdrawal to regroup at Sirius. Your fleet should join us immediately." Voss didn't bother hiding her contempt. 3 billion colonists on New Titan, Commander. If we withdraw, they die. Unfortunate, but statistical models indicate our combined forces have only a 12.8% chance of victory against this Voidborn contingent. Tactical withdrawal preserves our military assets for what? Voss interrupted. To watch more colonies fall. To send more thoughts and prayers to grieving human families. No. She cut the transmission with a slashing gesture and turned to her staff. "Contact all Earth ships in the sector. We make our stand at Procyon." Captain Rodriguez, her XO, approached. "Admiral, with all due respect, Coalition Command isn't wrong about the odds. We have 8 capital ships against 23 Voidborn hives. Then we'll just have to beat the odds, won't we?" Voss replied, bringing up the system display. "We've done more with less. Get me Captain Way on the Defiant." 6 hours later, Voss stood in the observation deck, watching as the Coalition ships vanished into FTL jumps, leaving only the human fleet behind. 8 ships against 23. 15,000 human lives against a swarm that had already consumed 4 outer colonies. Her neural implant pinged with an incoming transmission, a priority message from Earth Command. "Admiral Voss, this is General Mackenzie. The Security Council has authorized Protocol Pyrrhic if necessary. Godspeed." Voss closed her eyes briefly. Protocol Pyrrhic. Authorization to use antimatter warheads in a suicide run if defeat was inevitable. The ultimate last resort. Acknowledged. She subvocalized through her implant. She returned to the command deck, where her officers were finalizing battle preparations. "The Defiant is in position behind Procyon Ivy's largest moon," Rodriguez reported. "Captain Way confirms all systems are ready." "And evacuation efforts. Approximately 40% of New Titan's population has been evacuated to the shelters. That's all we could manage with the time we had." Voss nodded. "It'll have to be enough." The Voidborn arrived precisely as predicted, their massive organic ships looking like grotesque tumors against the starfield. Each high ship was roughly twice the size of Earth's largest vessels, pulsing with bioluminescent patterns and bristling with weapon ports that exuded a viscous fluid that hardened into projectiles in the vacuum of space. "All ships, assume formation Delta," Voss commanded. "Remember the plan. We need to draw them into the asteroid field." The human fleet moved in perfect coordination, seeming to present a disorganized retreat into the dense asteroid field that orbited Procyon's outer reaches. The Voidborn followed, their hive mind presumably sensing easy prey. "They're taking the bait," Rodriguez reported. "All ships report ready." Voss watched the tactical display, waiting for the precise moment. The Voidborn ships were entering the asteroid field now, pursuing the seemingly vulnerable human fleet. "Now," she ordered. Simultaneously, all 8 human ships executed a high G-turn that would have killed unprotected organic crews. The inertial dampeners strained as the ships reversed direction, now facing the oncoming Voidborn fleet. From hidden positions throughout the asteroid field, 300 autonomous weapon platforms activated, catching the Voidborn in a devastating crossfire. "Full barrage, all ships," Voss commanded. The human vessels unleashed everything they had: railgun projectiles, plasma torpedoes, and focused particle beams. The first wave of Voidborn ships shuddered under the assault, their organic hulls rupturing in explosive decompressions. 3 of the high ships were destroyed outright, and 4 more were damaged. But the remaining 16 regrouped with terrifying speed. The Voidborn were learning, adapting. Their return fire obliterated 2 human ships within minutes. "Defiant is moving into position," Rodriguez reported grimly. Captain Wei's face appeared on a corner of Voss's display. "We're ready, Admiral." Voss met the younger officer's eyes. "There's still time to abort, Captain. We could try another approach." Wei shook her head, her expression resolute. "The math doesn't lie, Admiral. We've hurt them, but not enough. Defiant has the best chance of delivering the package." 6 more Voidborn ships had broken through the human formation, heading directly for New Titan. The human fleet was down to 5 ships now, all taking heavy damage. "Very well," Voss said, her voice steady despite the weight crushing her chest. "Execute Protocol Pyrrhic." The Defiant broke from its hiding place behind Procyon Ivy's moon, accelerating directly toward the center mass of the Voidborn fleet. Its engines glowed white-hot as Captain Wei pushed them beyond safety limitations. "It's been an honor, Admiral," Wei said, saluting formally. "The honor is mine, Captain," Voss replied. "Earth will remember." The transmission cut as the Defiant slammed into the largest Voidborn high ship at 40% light speed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the antimatter containment fields collapsed, and a new sun briefly bloomed in the Procyon system. When the sensors cleared, 8 Voidborn ships remained, severely damaged and retreating. Victory, Voss thought bitterly. At what cost? The Coalition Emergency Council convened 3 days later on New Geneva. Representatives from 32 species gathered to discuss the Procyon incident, as they were already calling it. Admiral Voss, still wearing her dust-streaked uniform, stood before them. "The human delegation wishes to express its profound disappointment in our allies' actions during the recent Voidborn incursion," she began, ignoring the diplomatic protocols. "While our ships fought and died protecting not just human colonies but the entire Procyon sector, a strategic location for 6 coalition species, your fleets retreated without firing a single shot." Supreme Commander Zex Toril rose from his seat. "The human delegation fails to understand strategic necessity. Our tactical withdrawal cost 3,000 human lives and an entire starship with her crew," Voss interrupted. "This is the 8th time in 3 years that coalition forces have withdrawn, while human ships stood their ground." Murmurs spread through the chamber. "The Procyon system was saved," offered the Eldrax representative, his translucent tentacles gesturing placatingly. "We are, of course, grateful for humanity's sacrifice." "Gratitude doesn't bring back the dead," Voss replied coldly. "The Earth Security Council has instructed me to inform this body that effective immediately, human forces will no longer respond to coalition defense requests unless matched 1-for-1 with non-human ships. If we're to be the galaxy's teeth, you will at least provide the jaw." The chamber erupted in protests and counterarguments, but Voss had already turned to leave. As she reached the exit, an aide hurried to her side. "Admiral, urgent communication from Earth Command. The Voidborn have regrouped. They're heading for Ta City with 35 high ships." Voss stopped, closing her eyes momentarily. Ta City, humanity's oldest and largest extrasolar colony, home to over 5 billion people. Any word from Coalition Command? She asked, already knowing the answer. There. Assessing the situation, Admiral. Voss nodded, unsurprised. Inform Earth Command that we'll need everything they can spare. And tell them. She paused, looking back at the squabbling council members. Tell them it's time to activate the Phoenix Protocol. She didn't wait for a response, striding out into the corridor. The Phoenix Protocol had been Earth's contingency plan for precisely this scenario. When humanity finally accepted that they were alone in this fight, that the Coalition would watch them bleed and die while offering nothing but platitudes. It was time the galaxy learned what happened when humanity stopped playing by the rules. When the Quiet Ones speak, the Coalition Grand Assembly on New Geneva had never seen such chaos. Representatives from 32 spacefaring species shouted over one another, translator systems struggling to keep up with the cacophony of alien languages. At the center of the storm stood Ambassador Michael Chen of Earth, his face impassive as he waited for the noise to subside. High Chancellor Grix, a towering insectoid whose species had helped found the Coalition centuries ago, finally restored order by striking the ancient gong of assembly 3 times. The assembly recognizes the Ambassador of Earth. Grix chittered, translator implants rendering his speech into the standard Coalition language. Though we question the necessity of this emergency session, Chen stepped forward, his plain black uniform standing in stark contrast to the ornate regalia of the other representatives. Necessity, he echoed, his voice dangerously quiet. 35 void-borne high ships are currently approaching Ta City, home to 5 billion humans. Our intelligence suggests they will arrive in less than 72 hours. I'd call that necessity, Chancellor. We have received your request for military assistance, Grix acknowledged. The Coalition Defense Committee is evaluating the tactical situation and will deploy assets as deemed appropriate by Supreme Commander Zex Toril. A cold smile touched Chen's lips. That's why I've called this session, Chancellor. To inform you that Earth is withdrawing from the Coalition Mutual Defense Pact, effective immediately. The chamber erupted again. Several delegates rose from their seats in protest, while others huddled with advisors, clearly shocked by the announcement. You cannot withdraw in the face of an active threat, protested the Eldrax ambassador, his translucent skin flushing with agitation. The Compact of Worlds clearly states, the same compact that obligated your forces to assist at Procyon. Chen interrupted. The compact your species invoked when the Voidborn threatened your homeworld last cycle, and human ships answered the call while your own fleet conveniently experienced drive malfunctions. Chancellor Grix's mandibles clicked in irritation. Ambassador Chen, these accusations err. Not accusations. Facts. Chen activated his neural implant, projecting a holographic display in the center of the chamber. In the past 5 cycles, human forces have responded to 97 Coalition defense requests. We have lost 26 capital ships and over 180,000 military personnel defending Coalition worlds. The display shifted, showing a parallel set of statistics. In that same period, Coalition forces have responded to 43 human defense requests. Non-human casualties, 8,921. Capital ships lost. 3. Chen's gaze swept the chamber. We've analyzed the pattern. When human worlds are threatened, Coalition forces arrive late, position themselves at the edge of combat zones, and contribute minimal fire support. When Coalition worlds are threatened, human ships form the front line while your vessels provide strategic oversight from a safe distance. Commander Zex Toril rose from his seat, 4 eyes blinking rapidly. These statistical anomalies can be explained by tactical doctrine and... Save your excuses, Commander. Chen cut him off. Earth has made its decision. We will defend Ta City alone, as we've been doing all along anyway. But know this, when we survive, and we will survive, the rules of engagement will change. Is that a threat, Ambassador? Chancellor Grix demanded. A promise, Chen replied evenly. For too long, humanity has allowed itself to be the coalition's sacrificial pawn. We've bled and died while you've offered nothing but empty platitudes and posthumous medals. No more. He turned to leave, but the Morrigan delegate, one of the few coalition species with a respectable military record, called out, "What of the Voidborn? If they take Tau Ceti, Earth will surely be next. You cannot stand alone against them." Chen paused. Who said we're standing alone? The holographic display changed again, showing a vast shipyard orbiting Jupiter. Hundreds of vessels unlike any the Coalition had seen before floated in the vacuum, their hulls bristling with weapon systems far beyond current Coalition technology. For 50 years we've held back, Chen said softly, limited our military development to match Coalition standards, shared some technologies while keeping others in reserve, just in case we faced a day when we stood alone. The assembly chamber had fallen completely silent. Project Phoenix, Chen continued, a fleet designed and built in secret, adhering to no coalition restrictions or guidelines. 300 ships equipped with technologies we've developed independently, crewed by AIs that don't require flesh and blood sailors to sacrifice themselves. Chancellor Grix's exoskeleton paled. This violates at least 17 coalition treaties on military development and AI restrictions. Treaties that only bound us as coalition members, Chen reminded him. As I said, Earth has withdrawn from the Coalition Mutual Defense Pact. The Coalition will not stand for this threat, Supreme Commander Zex Toral declared, rising to his full height. Chen laughed, a sound without humor. Threat? You misunderstand, Commander. This isn't a threat. It's a farewell. He gestured, and a holographic display showed the Phoenix fleet already in motion, moving out from Jupiter orbit in perfect formation. Our fleet is en route to Tau Ceti as we speak. After we deal with the Voidborn, humanity will reassess its place in galactic politics. Perhaps as independent operators, perhaps as the foundation of a new alliance, one that actually defends its members instead of sacrificing them. Chen turned to leave once more, but Chancellor Grix's voice stopped him. Wait, the ancient insectoid said, his tone notably different. The Assembly requests a recess to discuss these developments. 4 hours later, Chen stood before a much more subdued coalition assembly. Chancellor Grix spoke first, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into uncharacteristically humble tones. The Assembly has consulted. We propose an immediate amendment to the Coalition Charter. Chen raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. Effective immediately, all Coalition species must contribute military assets proportional to their population and economic output. No exceptions, no diplomatic workarounds. Grix's compound eyes fixed on Chen. Furthermore, command responsibilities will be shared equally, with rotation of leadership based on combat experience rather than political considerations. And enforcement? Chen asked. Any species failing to meet its obligations will lose voting rights in the Assembly and face economic sanctions. Chen considered this. And for Tau Ceti? Supreme Commander Zex Toral stepped forward, mandibles lowered in what humans had learned was a posture of contrition among the Quarth. I have ordered all available coalition ships to rendezvous at Tau Ceti. 76 vessels will arrive within 48 hours. Better late than never, Chen said dryly. But not enough to change Earth's decision. The Phoenix fleet continues to Tau Ceti. Chancellor Grix's exoskeleton creaked as he leaned forward. Ambassador Chen, the Assembly formally requests that Earth reconsider its withdrawal. The reforms I've outlined are merely the beginning. We recognize that we have taken advantage of humanity's courage and martial prowess. Taken advantage. Chen echoed. You've treated us as expendable, as cannon fodder, and now you're afraid because the cannon fodder has teeth. Yes, Grix admitted, surprising everyone in the chamber. We are afraid, not just of what you might do, but of what we have already done. Species fear what they do not understand, Ambassador Chen. Humanity's willingness to sacrifice for others. your reckless courage in the face of overwhelming odds. These qualities are alien to most coalition species. The chamber had fallen silent again, every representative listening intently. We did not understand, so we exploited, Grix continued. And now we face the consequences of that exploitation. But the Voidborn remain a threat to all sentient life. Together, we might stand a chance. Divided, we fall one by one. Chen was silent for a long moment. Then he activated his neural implant, consulting data only he could see. The Phoenix fleet will continue to Ta City, he finally said. But Earth will conditionally suspend its withdrawal from the coalition, pending evidence of the reforms you've described. Relief visibly swept through the assembly. One more condition, Chen added. The Phoenix fleet remains under Earth command, outside coalition military structures. Consider it our insurance policy. Chancellor Grix hesitated, then nodded. Agreed. The battle for Ta City would later be described as the turning point in the war against the Voidborn. When the high ships arrived, they faced not just the revolutionary Phoenix fleet, but also the largest coalition force ever assembled. 76 ships representing every member species, all committed to the front lines. Admiral Ilara Voss, commanding the Phoenix fleet from her flagship Nova, watched as the coalition ships moved into formation alongside her own vessels. For the first time in her military career, the alien ships weren't hanging back at the edges of the battle zone. Coalition forces in position, Admiral, reported her XO. Supreme Commander Zex Toral requests permission to take the left flank. Voss raised an eyebrow. Granted. Let's see if they remember how to fight. The Voidborn arrived exactly as predicted, their organic high ships pulsing with malevolent energy as they dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Ta City system. But instead of finding a handful of human ships making a desperate last stand, they faced a wall of firepower unlike anything they had encountered before. The Phoenix fleet revealed its true capabilities for the first time. Quantum displacement drives allowed the human ships to appear and disappear across the battlefield, making them nearly impossible to target. Gravity lance weapons tore Voidborn vessels apart from the inside, while autonomous drone swarms overwhelmed their organic point defenses. And to Voss's surprise, the coalition ships fought with unexpected determination. The Korth dreadnoughts held the line against direct assaults. Eldrax cruisers coordinated perfectly with human strike teams. Even the notoriously cautious Morgan committed their precious stealth vessels to high-risk attack runs. They're actually fighting, Voss murmured, watching the tactical display as coalition casualties mounted, yet not a single alien ship retreated. By the battle's end, the Voidborn fleet had been completely destroyed. The coalition had lost 17 ships, and the Phoenix fleet had lost 9. But Ta City, and the 5 billion humans who called it home, had been saved. 1 month later, Admiral Voss stood beside Ambassador Chen in Earth's primary diplomatic chamber as representatives from all 32 coalition species signed the new defense charter. The document formalized the reforms promised at New Geneva and added several provisions specifically addressing past disparities in combat deployments. Do you think it will last? Voss asked quietly as Chancellor Grix applied his species' ceremonial seal to the document. Fear is a powerful motivator, Chen replied. They've seen what humanity can do when pushed too far. But more importantly, they've seen what we can accomplish together when everyone actually fights. Supreme Commander Zex Toral approached them after the ceremony, his translator rendering his speech with unusual humility. Admiral Voss, the Coalition Defense Force would be honored if you would consider a temporary assignment as strategic advisor to Coalition Command. We have much to learn from humanity's approach to warfare. Voss exchanged a glance with Chen, who nodded slightly. I'll consider it, Commander, she said. On one condition, no more strategic withdrawals when the fighting gets tough. That was the old coalition, Zex Toral replied. The new one understands that in this galaxy, we are all in this together. Humans may be the teeth, but without the rest of the body, teeth alone cannot survive. As the alien commander moved away, Voss turned to gaze out at the stars visible through the chamber's transparent dome. Somewhere out there, the Voidborn were regrouping, perhaps evolving new defenses against the weapons that had defeated them at Ta City. The war was far from over. But for the first time since humanity had joined the galactic community, they weren't fighting alone. The Quiet Ones had spoken, and the galaxy had finally listened. Sometimes, Voss reflected, you had to bare your teeth to earn respect. But once you had it, you could finally build something worth fighting for, together.